listening to BSI, the podcast with Benny Silver, Dowsy and Arco Para. Enjoy!
Brother in the car, and he's just killing me. He's like, Hazard's going to kill you. He's going to neg you every time he gets the ball. It's just strange. Like, I came off the game in the 70th minute yesterday and had to put a mask on the bench while I was like trying to drink water. I'm like trying to drink water, and they're like, "Can you put your mask on?" I'm like, "What the hell? Can I get a sip of water real quick?"
Welcome to BSI, the podcast, and we got a massive show today. We're going to bring in Tyler Adams, and I think he's going to be a funny guy to talk to because he's got some good stories. Still a young kid, but he's been through the Red Bull Academy, which we'll get into. I know he was there with you, Sal, and some of the stories that you have I think are pretty good as well. And then we'll get in with his time in the national team in Bundesliga and his transition over there. I think we'll have a good episode with Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler's a unique character. He's pretty wise for his years, right? He's a type, we talked about it a little bit, but he's kind of got that Michael Jordan mentality a little bit. And, that's a big thing to say for a 21-year-old, but I think once you guys listen to him, you'll get that sense.
But I don't think he comes off as like a dick, and Michael Jordan kind of comes off as like a dick to his teammates.
No, but when I say he makes up, things maybe in his head or picks out certain players in a game that he wants to show up, right. I think that part is pretty relatable.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll get him on, and real quick, I just wanted to talk a little bit about our Patreons, and we've been having a really good time with it. I think it's been cool because we've been able to text message with these guys and kind of really know what they want to hear, what questions they had. We're going to have some questions on this podcast that come from a lot of our Patreons, so that's been a cool thing. And I want to.
Yeah, can I just say we've also been getting some good feedback on a lot of our planning videos. So before having interviews, maybe the day or two before we come on, us three, and we kind of discuss about their careers and what we want to talk about with them. So we've gotten some good feedback on that.
Yeah, actually, by the way, Ike's back. I forgot to reintroduce him back to the crowd and the fan base. Thankfully we got him back. We had Sasha and Dax take a little part and be part of the Ike substitution travel party or whatever. But I'm glad to see you back, bro.
Yeah, the real DP's back now. We're getting to the real thing here.
We had a couple TAM players in your state.
Thank you, Dax and Sasha. You did a great, admirable job filling in for me. Jovan and Luis were good guests as well.
Don't say that, dude. You were pissed off about some of the questions.
Let me finish. But they also got let off the hot seat too easily, even though Jovan pretty much had a difficult time answering if mustard or ketchup is better. He couldn't answer any question. But that's neither here nor there. Everyone did a great job, but the real king's back.
Good to see you, dude. And again, let's just say real quick the Patreon things that are coming up this week. So we're gonna start uploading 2 videos from past episodes a week now for all our Patreon members that they can find that there. We have our planning video coming up on I think usually a couple days after the episode airs with the Tyler Adams planning video. I'll be doing a Zoom chat probably this upcoming weekend. The one that Sal partook in 2 weeks ago, I'm going to partake in this week. So I hope to see more than 2 people there. It'll be fun to kind of talk about what you guys want to see, what kind of questions, which ways we can make it better, and just kind of a good way to, for us to relate with the fans that are listening to the show and kind of get to know them a little bit better. And then the last one I want to mention is for our $20 Patreons. I think there's only 4 of us right now, but we're gonna start an extra episode, and we'll do that probably every 2 weeks. And literally we're gonna get a topic or a question, and we're gonna just settle on one thing per episode, whether it be we kind of go in order from one Patreon and then to the next and to the next and to the next. But we're gonna get one topic and just talk about that. For a 20-minute episode or whatever, just us 3. So I think it'll be interesting. I think a lot of people have questions about whether it be the national team, how they're set up right now to succeed. Maybe we could talk about certain specific teams, whatever everybody wants to talk about. That's what we're going to do for our extra episode.
Yeah.
And one more bit of news, we're going to actually start doing 2 parts of the podcast as we're getting some longer interviews, some more elaborate answers from our guests. And so we're going to start splitting the episodes in 2 and dropping them on 2 different days during the week. So be on a lookout for that. You'll instead of having 1 day to look forward to each week, you're going to have 2 days. So you're welcome for that. And without further ado, let's get Tyler Adams on the show. Thanks for coming on the show, bro. Welcome, Tyler Adams, to the show. Thanks for showing up, bro. After having their first game of the world yesterday, how do you feel?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a good feeling. Obviously, it was pretty boring without football. A lot of individual workouts and whatnot. But being able to obviously get back out on the pitch and do your thing again, it's a good feeling.
How's your German?
It's all right, to be fair, but we don't speak German at our club. So.
Really?
Bro, we have like 8 native speakers on our team. Everyone else speaks French or English.
What about the coach?
Yeah, German, but then
He's German?
have translators. So
yeah, that's crazy because like when I first went to Germany, it was like you better. As much as some people spoke English, it was like, nah, you better learn German.
Yeah, that's what everyone tells me. They're like, it's so cutthroat. Like whatever team they go to, it's like German or nothing. I'm like, bro, we speak like English all day.
It's gonna be so hard for you to learn German then. Like,
yeah, it is
so hard.
It's so hard because like every time I'd speak with my German teacher, she's like, your German's getting so good. I'm like, I can't break the habit of not speaking English to people. Like people
Can't even use it.
I'm not going to respond in German. It's just so hard.
So you have a tutor.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I did too. I remember like I usually had her whenever we had double days, I would do it in between the 2 trainings.
Yeah.
I used to have one too, but it's good when you're talking to them and you're learning, but then when you go into the real world and it's so much different, man.
Yeah. That's gotta be weird. And we'll get into that. I'll ask you some of those questions. You know how this works. We'll do some quick hitters, warm you up, some easy questions. Then we'll get into some interview questions about your career and your time in Germany and quarantine and all that kind of stuff. And then at the end, you get to take a seat in the hot seat with Ike Opara, who comes back after his 2-week hiatus. So,
I'm a mercenary, man.
Yeah,
that's all I'm about.
he's going to bring some fire because he's been off of it for 2 weeks. So you're going to be the guinea pig now.
And people have been running their mouths. So I'm about that life this week.
Yeah. And so we had Jovan Karofsky and Ike wasn't there, and we had Luis, and both times he was texting us afterwards saying, how did you let this man get away with this answer and this answer? So I feel bad for you.
Those two guys pled the fifth more than anyone.
Yeah, but they let him off the hook. It was ridiculous. But anyways, go on.
All right. Well, we'll start it off easy. So some of the quick hitters. All right. Favorite stadium to play in Bundesliga? Can't be your own. Let's make it an Auswärtsspiel.
Bayern's Allianz.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
And what about favorite team to play against?
Favorite team to play against? I mean, I haven't scored any goals, so I can't be like, yeah, this is my team to play against. I would have to say, Bayern as well. Just a big game.
Right.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, here we go. This is a question that I've always wanted to ask you because I have my answer. So your favorite position to play in / what you think you're best at. Maybe they're 2 different answers, but I know you've played, right back, wing back, a defensive midfielder, the 8. And so where do you feel most comfortable? Where do you think is your best position? Where do you love to play?
Favorite position is 6. What I'm best at is 6 as well, defensive mid. The most fun though, like when I played in the Under-20 World Cup and I basically played like as a 10 and I didn't really think about defending that much, is I see why attackers are like the way they are now. You know what I'm saying? Like I was kind of just chilling, like pressing up the field, and then they'd play a ball past me and I'd be like, all right, I'm done. So,
yeah, but then you have the added pressure of having to like create goal scoring opportunities.
Yeah, but I wasn't good at that either. So I was kind of just chilling up by the goal, waiting to have it happen or something.
Now you know why Benny loves soccer so much, because he just all games.
Yeah. That's actually funny because I've actually read that, or I think I saw in one of your interviews that you played a lot of sports growing up, and it was like a tough decision to decide between soccer and basketball primarily, but you chose soccer because you love to run. That could not be the more opposite of how I feel. I cannot understand that. Like, explain. Like, do you actually like to run?
Yeah, no. Like it was so weird because when I was young, like my mom just had me involved in everything. And I remember her like asking me, she was like, do you want to do like a 5K? Do you want to do like a 1 mile race? And I used to like love doing those, like just going out against like kids and just like running, seeing if I was faster than them. Yeah.
You're
So
like, Mom, can you just throw me in a Ironman, please? I really want to do an Ironman.
I did like my first mile race when I was like 8 years old or something like that. And I just loved it.
Yeah, dude. That is the complete opposite of me.
I will say this: the last few years, I've been in the mindset that I can just run now without like it feeling like a punishment, and like not running with music. You remember music, and you're like counting down the songs. You're like, all right, I'm like 10 minutes in, all that. I'm like, I can like get out and just run now, and it
without
like,
music.
actually, yeah, and it's enjoyable-ish. So
what you were describing there at first is exactly me. It's like, okay, 20 minutes. That's about 5 songs. Like, okay, we're done with 1, 4 more songs.
That's exactly what I used to be like, for sure.
And if it's like a shuffle, like a what's that?
That's what quarantine has been like with all these individual runs. I've been like, how many songs do I have left so I could just like go back inside?
Seriously, it's crazy. Yeah. Anyways, all right. So favorite position, you'd like to play the 10, but your 6 is the best position. I agree. I think that, I mean, you're very good in the middle. As much as like, you can convert to a right back, I feel like it takes away a little bit of what you're so good at, and being able to, basically run it to every blade of grass on the field. You kind of you stay mostly on one side of the field. So I like it when you're in the middle.
Why do coaches feel so comfortable to just throw you at right back every time when I clearly see that the middle of the field is where you're the most effective? You can cover the most ground on the field.
Yeah, it's what I'm going through right now, though, too, because we play 5 in the back. I'm getting stuck at wing back. And, like, for me, it's just been so frustrating all the time because, like, coaches know that I can play there. But, like, for me, like, my mindset going into games is, like, I'm the most effective when I'm in the middle of the field. Like, just from a confidence perspective, it's like I can do what I'm best at in the middle of the field. When I'm at right back, I feel so, like, isolated in different situations. Not that I'm saying I'm not comfortable there, but it's just like my effect on the game drastically changes, I feel like. But I don't know.
Yeah. You feel somewhat out of control, like you can't affect the game the way you want to.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I can relate to that because in the times that I was playing a little bit with the national team, and sometimes I play as a right mid, which I could play as a left mid because I could drift inside on my right foot. But at the right side, I always felt uncomfortable. And if I knew that I was either coming in on the right or starting on the right or whatever, I knew that I couldn't like just get myself up to, okay, I can play a really good game today. It was almost out of my, out of my grasp.
Exactly.
So it's sometimes it can be frustrating, but I mean, that's part of it, I guess, so like you see like Alphonso Davies, I watched him today and, he's probably, a winger in a more natural sense, but he's been playing left back and he's doing a fantastic job. So, I mean, it's possible to convert, but I agree that, your best spot is definitely in the middle of the field. All right. This is another question that's kind of come from fans. And also I'm kind of curious about, so you guys are the first league that has started back up, I think in terms of sports. I mean, I know Belarus was playing throughout, but I think you guys are the first league, whether it be soccer or any other sport, that's kind of come back in Europe. And I'm wondering, what is the weirdest like ritual now that you guys have to go through in terms of like the procedures? Like what's the weirdest thing? Cause I mean, we've been seeing like the goal celebrations have been like the most awkward thing in the world. Yeah, so other things as well. So like what's been going on behind the scenes that maybe we don't know about that's been really strange?
So for the first game now, it was a little bit strange, and it won't be the routine, for the rest of the games, but we had to be in a 7-day quarantine with our team. So we were actually at the training ground and we had to get tested, almost every day. But the weirdest thing so far was 2 days before every game, you have to get tested at 7 a.m. So like we have to get to the training ground by 7 a.m., get tested so that the results can go to the lab in Berlin and be back in time, obviously, for the start of the game, which is 2 days away. So it takes like usually a day and a half to get the results and whatnot. But it's just weird. You have to go through a lot of testing now. They emphasize wearing the mask everywhere you go. It's just strange. Like I came off the game in the 70th minute yesterday and had to put a mask on the bench while I was like trying to drink water. I'm like trying to drink water, and they're like, "Can you put your mask on?" I'm like, "What the hell? Can I get a sip of water real quick?"
Dude, the coaches don't even have to wear the masks.
Yeah, it's weird. I guess because they say if they're on the other side of like the barrier thing and they're a distance away from people, then they're safe. But yeah, it's just really strange.
Seeing people like 6 feet away on the bench is also kind of funny to me too.
Like if you're sitting on the bench, usually like you're like chatting with one of your boys or something about like what's going on in the game. Like now you're like yelling down the sideline at someone, "Hey, what do you guys think about that play?" At that point, it's like, all right, I guess I'm gonna sit here and say nothing the whole game.
Right. And you can't even like talk really well. So I haven't worn too many of those masks because I've like stayed at home for 2 months straight. But I had to take my daughter to the doctor because she hurt her collarbone. And I put that on while I was just sitting at the doctor's office. It's the most annoying thing, dude. It's like you're just breathe. You can smell your own breath, and you just keep breathing hot air. It's terrible.
You can't hear the other person. They can't hear you half the time.
It's so like, muffled.
What kind of testing is it, Tyler?
Your ears are like folded in half. It's like the most uncomfortable thing ever.
It's too small, so your ears.
Ty, is it the swab testing or what kind of testing is it?
So we have swab testing, but the one that they do 2 days before the game is blood tests. So that's why it has to go to the laboratory. It takes like a little bit more thorough testing. But mostly the swab in the back of your throat.
Okay. At least it's not up your nose where it goes like in your brain.
Yeah. I'm actually hoping like, of course, everybody wants like everything to go on without a hitch, right? Like nobody gets sick or anything. But I almost hope that like there's some occasions or whatever of somebody like testing positive, and then so we can see like what the proper way to go about it, and if there is like a good solution, then people can actually see like have a blueprint of going off of what Bundesliga is doing right now. Because as much as you don't want anybody to get sick, but if everything goes perfectly, like that's not going to be the case if every other league starts up. So
well, go ahead. Oh no, I was just saying Benny just wants people to die apparently, but go on, Tyler. I hope they get sick.
I want little speed bumps to arise so that we can like encounter them and then solve the problem and everybody can see.
I'm aware.
But all right, well, I think that's all.
It's so calm, man. It's crazy. Like you just go out in the city and everyone's just like casually, like since it's happened, everyone's just casually like out and about, like tanning in the park and stuff like that. It's like it's never happened. It's insane.
Yeah.
Well, leave it to the Germans though to be the first like organized like league to come back.
Yeah.
Well, they love their footy, dude.
Them in Florida. which was wild though. They're Germany or Florida.
2 peas in a pod. Germans and Floridians.
Yeah, right. Never been said before. All right. Well, those are all the quick hitters I got, dude. So now we're going into the interview section. Yeah. So
I'll step in real quick. So Tyler, coming up, you came up through the Red Bull Academy. Played that whole age group at a young age. And then was there ever a point where you considered going to college instead of turning pro, and kind of what pushed you into that path to turn pro?
Yeah, it's funny because there was actually a game. I think it was Turkey versus the US in Red Bull Arena with the senior national team. And I was only, I think 15 or 16 at the time. And that's when I first met with my agent, like before that game. And we kind of, went over the plan of like, if I take this route, what happens? If I take that route, what happens? And I remember in there, it was like, my mom was just like, you're going to college, like blah, blah, like, the typical mom rant. And my dad is like, well, we have to like weigh the options a little bit. Like you can't just say, okay, if he goes to professional, like college is never possible. So, what kind of, pushed me in the route of going pro it was obviously a dream of mine since I was young, but, college was paid for in my contract as well. And that's kind of what set my mom. She was like, okay, fine. I guess you can go, play professional soccer. She kind of made no big deal out of it. But yeah, that's kind of how I made the decision.
That's a smart move, putting the college and tuition there inside the contract. That'll make your mom happy for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have you taken online classes, or do you have plans in the future to finish? I know you're still young, so maybe you haven't thought about that, but.
No, are you crazy? My mom makes me send her my
really?
My payment of school, making sure I'm paying for them so she can like believe that I'm doing them. So I have to send her like my annual like report card and whatnot, basically of what I'm doing. So like I just did SNHU obviously because it was just really easy. The people there were great with like the collaboration with MLS. So I'm still doing it. Like I have to literally do anatomy right after this because it's due Sunday. So
really.
I got to do that. Yeah.
Oh my God. It is Sunday. What are you talking about? When is it due today or next week?
Sunday in the
today.
States.
I got some stuff due today.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just ahead of us. Wait, I'll say this though. I was traveling back and forth my rookie year from California to North Carolina with college. First few years of pro college, it was my biggest accomplishment as a professional.
Yeah.
getting done with college, not having that weight on my shoulder. Because it's a hassle. I mean, it's a hassle in the way.
You could just quit though, and then not have that weight on your shoulders either.
Tyler might be a little bit different, but
my biggest accomplishment in terms of studies was I was 2 years into UCLA, and then I went to play it. I got invited to play at the 20s World Cup, and I told my mom, "Hey, mom, maybe I'll go play in the 20s." And it was in Holland at the time, and maybe I won't come back. Maybe I'll get a contract in Europe. And she laughed at me. And so my biggest accomplishment was actually turning pro and telling my mom, "Hey, mom, I'm actually not coming back," and get her to stop telling me to come back to UCLA. So I still need 2 more years if I want to finish college, but that was my biggest accomplishment.
Yeah.
So okay, so moving forward in your career a little bit. You were a rookie in 2015. You were, I don't know, were you 15 or 16 at the time?
16, I think.
16.
Yeah.
Very young, either way. So you played in what was primarily either guys outside of the 18 or some Red Bull 2 players. You guys played against Chelsea. I remember being at that game in the stands. And they pretty much had their full lineup. Jose Mourinho was the coach at the time. And you guys beat them 4-2. It was a pretty crazy game. You scored a nice header. What were you feeling after that game? Did you kind of feel like, all right, I got this. I can do this at the highest level. I performed well.
No, I wasn't thinking about that at all. Actually, I was just thinking that my brother's favorite team was Chelsea, and he said we were going to lose 7-0 before that. So I was so satisfied that I was not about to get absolutely roasted in the car ride home. That we obviously won. So for me, I remember before that game, driving down with my parents because my mom was still dropping me off at everything, and my brother in the car, and he's just killing me. He's like, Hazard's going to kill you. He's going to meg you every time he gets the ball. So after that, it was so satisfying knowing that, we won. Yeah, it was a huge relief, obviously, to play that game. I mean, as you know, it was a huge opportunity for all the USL guys to play against Chelsea because you guys had the US Open Cup game. And yeah, it was a good feeling because I felt like I took a huge step forward after that game. Definitely weight off my shoulders, but at the same time, my goal was to play MLS games, not really a friendly game. So it was good to prove to people that I was capable of handling that level. But more so, it was better. I wasn't getting banterized. I would make that word up from my brother.
Is your brother older than you or younger?
No, younger. So it would have been
younger. Yeah, that would have been painful, dude. Get your younger brother, talking trash on you.
Yeah. How's your younger brother doing, by the way? How's he doing? Is he done with college yet, or is he?
No. So the youngest one is about to go into college. That's the one that's a Chelsea fan. My brother Dylan, that I think because he trained with the first team a couple times. He's at Clemson right now, and obviously they had a good season this year. They didn't win national championship, but good experience for him. And then my brother, that's the same age as me, is playing American football, so he's chill.
Oh, okay.
Well, your younger brother clearly has never played you as a professional because everyone listening to this podcast is going to think you're like a cool, normal dude, and you are. Don't get me wrong, but you are a psychopath in between the white lines, and so they don't know how competitive you are in your mentality. I remember hearing stories about you, Eric Palmer Brown, and he would tell me how crazy you were and how you made things easy for him at the World Cup, playing in the middle with them. And whatnot. And then I remember playing you and you barking at me on the field. And I'm like, what the hell is this 17? No, literally barking at me like a dog. And I'm like, yo, what is wrong with this dude? This guy's mentality is actually pretty special to witness at your age and seeing where you've gone in a very short amount of time. But your brother should have known that you weren't going to lose to Chelsea just based off of
Eric knows, man. I get on Eric a lot, not usually as a joke, but I remember playing with him in the World Cup. I would yell at him so much; it was so bad.
Yeah, but I think that's just your nature, regardless if it's Eric or
Tyler. How much is that you, and how much is that a product of Jesse, the type of player he was, the type of coach he is, kind of molding you in that? I know you have that natural in you, but just curious if he kind of, pushed that out of you more.
Yeah, no, he definitely helped me in that sense. But Jesse, he made me when I was young and he would always get on me, it made me way more angry than I needed to be. I was way more competitive. I'm like, why is this guy always yelling at me? Whenever he jumped in a game, I was trying to tackle him. In training, if I had the opportunity to tackle him, I would tackle him.
It was so funny whenever he'd jump in on training. Everyone would be like, oh shit, Jesse's on my team today. Oh no, he's gonna yell at me.
Yeah, no, like great coach. I love the guy. No, he definitely brought a lot out of me, but like he made me like way more of like an angry person than I needed to be at 15 years old.
Yeah, but it's innate. You already had it in you. That's the thing.
Yeah,
you already had all these things.
I was gonna bring up the fact that we actually had Marisa Dew come on the show like a month back, and I think it was like during one of his injuries, and he was trying to get fit, so he played with the Union reserves team, and I guess they played you guys at some point, whether it was like I don't know if it was a reserve league at the time or whatever, but he said you played on New York Red Bulls reserve team, and you were yelling at everybody, like getting into tackles, and Mo's like, what in the hell is going on here? And he's just like, this kid's but he had like such a like amazing things to say about it. He's like, oh, this guy's gonna make it, because of his attitude and how he is. And Mo's just trying to like, get some fitness out of it while you're just running around trying to, beat everybody up. But
yeah, so like funny story on that is my agent, like is Lyle Yorks, and he had Mo at the time when he was coming back from the injury, obviously. And he told me like, yeah, like Mo's playing in this game. So like from that point on out, I was like, oh shit, like I gotta like kill this guy. Like I gotta show like people that I'm like capable of like I just want to play for the MLS team already. I'm getting stuck in these reserve games. I'm like, I gotta absolutely kill this guy. So I remember him coming back from injury, and there was like the first pass back off the kickoff. I just sprinted at him as fast as I could, like trying to hit him. Just to prove a point to everybody that I was like able to play at MLS already.
That's the Michael Jordan like
Absolutely.
messed up stuff that like everyone looks at and is like, okay, that wouldn't really piss off anybody else, or like nobody would even pay attention to that.
Right.
Yet Tyler
he's a great
like,
teammate, but he's a great teammate. That's a difference. Like in a sense of like he doesn't need to be that like asshole teammate kind of thing. But like you can be that guy, which Tyler is, and it can clearly get you places.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it at the January camp, and I'm like, yo, I got respect for this guy. Like, and that was my first time like actually seeing you, playing with you as opposed to watching games. And yeah, I had some preconceived notions of who you were as a player, whatnot. But I remember at that camp being like, you were one of the few people that impressed me to the fact that like you were better at every single thing than I thought you were, and so that was pretty cool to see.
So moving on. Okay, so you had your debut game in San Jose. I played in that game. We didn't win. We didn't play very well. We were kind of in the midst of a losing streak. You didn't see the field with the first team the rest of the year. Was that hard on you? Did you feel like, Jesse kind of had you on the right plan? You guys ended up winning the USL that year. What kind of were your thoughts after that game, before the game?
Yeah, like before the game, I was excited. I was going to play in my first game. San Jose was a good new stadium, good fans. It was just a good atmosphere to play in. And I remember he told me I was gonna start, and I was so excited. A little bit nervous, of course, but I remember after those first 45 minutes, I was like, "Oh man, I'm playing well. Like, just continue to do that. No mistakes or anything." And then he was like, "Tyler, you're coming out." And I was like, "Oh my god, this guy really just do this to me." Like. And I remember it was Sean Wright Phillips too, and Sean Wright Phillips was like, "Yeah, like you played a good half, like unlucky. Sometimes they have to make these changes." I was like, "Make these changes? Are you kidding me? I was not even close to being one of the worst players on the field. If I played bad, take me off by any means. I won't say a word to you." But like, it was just, I was so pissed that he took me off. But yeah, it was a good run with the USL team that year. We obviously won a championship. That was good to be a part of, but. Yeah, I'm still pissed about that day. Anytime I see him, I'll tell him, I'm like, "Why'd you take me off that half?"
Yeah, this guy's got some Jordan-esque to him for sure. Like things he remembers from 8 years ago that doesn't even matter anymore.
Chip on your shoulder, you gotta have it at all times.
Hey, with that chip on your shoulder, I actually have a question, and I think Sal, you might remember this, but I've heard stories from your time at Red Bull that maybe some of the players that were in front of you, kind of. I don't know if they picked on you, but kind of bothered you, or maybe one guy in specific. And I'm wondering if you ever, lost at one time and put him in a headlock or anything.
I may have told him this story, but if you'd like to elaborate on it.
Yeah, a headlock would probably be an understatement. It was almost like, it was more like a little kid being bullied for like a year. And then you finally just like burst. And I was
had
like,
enough.
Yeah. So like, first off, it started my first training session with the team, and I just went into a tackle. He got a little mad.
Who was he? Who was he?
There's no name calling.
I think
Everyone can figure it out on their own.
All our fans probably know who it is already, so you might as well just confirm it.
Yeah. I think Sean Davis, that guy. Yeah, Sean Davis for sure.
No, Sean was too nice.
I know who it is, but go on.
Yeah.
Go on with your story.
And I forget, we were walking out a video or something like that.
Yeah.
He stepped on my foot or something. I don't know. He punched me, and I was like, "Dude, what are you doing?" And he was like, "What? You have something to say or something?" And I just like picked him up and I just
Yeah, that's what it was. You picked him up and dropped him to the floor and had him in a
You're
hole.
not going to do this to me for my whole career here. So yeah, that was that.
So you
I
and Felipe are
remember
still friends?
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So you and Felipe are still friends?
Yeah, basically.
So Tyler, the players, remember that moment, pretty. I mean, I could tell you the exact spot it happened at in the locker room. So, did you feel like that was a moment where, like, obviously you said you had enough. Did he, respect you more after that? Did he pick on you less? Did you feel like you earned more respect from everybody after that? Did you sense any of that?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really pay attention too much to what everyone else was doing. I think that he obviously had a little bit more respect for me for standing up to myself, and I don't think he was going to do that again.
Yeah.
But everything takes care of itself on the field. So whenever we played against each other, then I just try to take care of business.
Yeah.
Nice.
Was
the way to do it.
Was there a moment in Germany that you can point to when maybe you first got there, when, because I know Benny and I kind of had, we at 21, we were both playing in the Bundesliga as well. And at a young age, you have the mentality that you're going to succeed there. But for me personally, I was always getting kind of stepped on and I just kind of let it happen. Right. And was there a moment you kind of said that's enough, or where you noticed that they respected you from the get-go?
Yes and no. Like you said, I mean, coming in as a foreigner, you obviously have to know your boundaries. Like, you can't just come in and be like, yeah, I'm the shit and I'm going to obviously run this.
Yeah.
But like, for me, it was just more of a subtle thing. Like, I've watched Leipzig for a long time. I knew who their good players were. And in training, I would just try to go after them, to be honest. Like, I'd just try to hit them, foul them, like do whatever to kind of get in their head and like, burst their bubble that they're not that great. But even if they're good players, then I would just kind of do that regardless. So it's the same when I play against players on the field. Like, you always try to target their best players and, try to take them out of the game as quickly as possible. But when I first got here, I haven't really gotten into any fights or anything like that. I've kind of stayed a little bit more low key still. Obviously, after coming back to injuries and stuff like that, having to break into the team again, then I had to step on some toes, of course. But yeah, not yet.
Dude, you're saying like you hit people and stuff, but I mean, I've never thought of you as like a dirty player. Like you run and you tackle and you're all over the place and you're a tough player to play against, but I've never saw any, malice in any of the things you did.
Yeah. It's about closing down and nudging.
Right.
He's one of the best ball closers I've ever played against.
Yeah.
Him and,
it's not so much like, fouling and stuff like that. I don't mean it in that sense. Yeah. Just more of like bumping you off the ball, like a little bit of like, just annoying things.
A little gamesmanship.
Yeah, exactly.
If you ever want to come back to MLS for like $5 million a year, Peter Vermees, when he hears this, is going to love everything about it. So you've got a place when you come back.
Your 5 steps to close down a guy is the best I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it really is.
Thanks.
I wanted to actually just kind of go one more back to what Sal was talking about, like an adjustment in Germany. And that was something that I definitely went through. So I went when I was 20 years old, right out of college. And I remember the first 6 months were brutal, right? So I signed my contract and I was so happy to become a pro. That was my first professional contract. So it's a little bit different than you, but the first 6 months were just brutal. I was trying to learn the language. People didn't speak as much English as apparently you guys, have on the team, but it wasn't easy. And I just missed home. And I was like, dude, when is it, Christmas time, so that I signed in the beginning of the year, right? Not in January like you did. Yeah. So I was waiting for Christmas for like that little week break or whatever, just to get back to my parents and family and friends. And I remember the first day back. So it was I think it was New Year's Eve. I was back, for the beginning of preseason in January. And it was like the loneliest day ever. I was just in my apartment and there was like fireworks out and I was just like looking around. I'm like, dude, I am a loser. I'm just sitting at my house. I have no friends. I miss my family. So I'm wondering, like, did you go through that at all, or was it not exactly like that? I know, was Jesse there when you first signed?
Yeah, so Jesse was there when I first signed, and of course for me, like that's a game changer. Like if you know somebody, like they kind of like, I mean, I knew him since I was 15. I knew his family, his wife. Like when you come here, like they gave me enough space to let me do my own thing, but there was always a night and once every month or something like that where I could go over, have dinner, like kind of relax, like settle in, and it feels like you're in America in Germany. You know what I'm saying? So in that sense, it couldn't have been better timing. Obviously, for when he was here, he helped me obviously learn the system, the little changes that were made in Leipzig that we didn't have in New York, understanding some of the language and stuff like that. So in video, I was kind of understanding everything. That kind of stuff helped me a lot. So yeah, I would say that, you always go through days where you're like, wow, I wish I was in America. But I mean, for me, it's just like, eventually I'll have time to relax after my career. So I don't need it right now.
During that little tidbit for me, but during those 6 months that I was, first in Germany, You Had a Bad Day by Daniel Powder. I don't know if you guys remember that song. That played on the radio every single day. Every single day, dude. It was like the worst song for me to hear.
You sound like Eric Palmer Brown.
It was raining or snowing every day.
Oh, man.
Well, you guys are
Palmer Brown.
You guys are tougher than I did. I had that homesickness when I went to California. So good job, guys. good job, guys.
Yeah, but California here would be like going all the way to Russia in Europe.
Yeah.
So it's like, I would be homesick if I was there.
Yeah, that's fair, but it's a little different. Little different.
Yeah. Is there anyone that you're like close to on the team? Any guys that like you consider your best friends or whatever on the team?
Yeah, so fortunately, there's a kid on loan here, Ethan Ampadu from Chelsea, who I'm really close with, obviously. Another English speaker, Ademola Lookman. He came from Everton. We have a really close-knit group, though, like Emil Forsberg from Sweden. I'm really close with Yusuf Poulsen from Denmark. I mean, those are all like fluent English speakers, obviously. So they have like the banter that you usually get in America or in England. So it's good to obviously joke around, because as soon as you try to joke around with a German, then yeah,
they don't know what that is, Tyler.
They don't know what that is, man. It's terrible. It's terrible. That's almost why I don't want to learn the language. Like, how can I be funny speaking German? Like, what's the point? What's the point of trying?
Yeah, there's no such thing as sarcasm.
Auf geht's, Männer.
Exactly.
Oh, God.
All
right. Well, I think. Do you guys have any more questions?
I got one story, and this has pretty much been a Red Bull reunion. We've had like 18 Red Bull guests.
I know, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So I want to know, during the Open Cup final 2017, during the handshake going through the line, did you guys? You might not even remember this. Do you remember slapping all of our hands super hard? And if you do, who told you to do that? Was it like an intimidating factor?
I definitely didn't do that, because I hate when people slap my hand hard in a handshake. I'm like, what are you trying to start on this line? Like,
that's what I said. You guys all did it, and I'm like, you guys all did it.
I don't know what mental tricks you're playing on yourself to pump you up for games, but I did not remember that, and it did not happen.
Me and Matt Beasler were talking about it right after it happened. Like, look at these guys trying to punk us at a final.
So, like, I don't remember that at all. So you told me that before, and I was like, I don't remember getting like slapped hard by any of these guys. So I don't know if it actually happened, or if you're like making up like a Michael Jordan story.
Yeah, he needed something to.
If anything, they're all picking on me. They only slapped me and Beasler's hand.
The only other thing I can think of is if maybe the guy right before you on our team, or right before Beasler, whatever, on our team, like did something, and now they wanted to take it out on the next two guys or whatever.
No, dude, stop.
That's the only thing I can think of.
But that's the thing. But how Red Bulls played and how Jesse, like, it made sense that they would try that, and that's why I remember being like, okay. But hey, whatever. It's a he said, she said.
They should have focused more in the game than on the hand slapping part.
Well, to be fair, the first 20 minutes they were on top of us, so it kind of worked.
Yeah, that was one of those videos that we went in, Sal, and Jesse was like, you just need 100 to 70 in these moments, and we score 3 goals. Yeah, no, it wasn't that easy, Jesse.
I remember that, actually. I remember that.
That game, it was actually being replayed here in Kansas City as like one of these classic games that have been played over and over again. And I actually watched a little bit of it. And after we went up 2-0, after at the beginning of the second half, we were up 1-0. You guys were crushing us. You guys were like one wave after another. And we were just like kind of playing back, which we never do at home. But you guys couldn't score. And eventually we got the second goal, which by the way was terrible defending. Probably Sal was terrible defending. Sal's like was looking up at the stands or something. I don't know what
it was off a corner kick, wasn't it? A little bit.
No, it was off of Benny's like.
No. I know. I'm saying our corner kick. Off our corner kick.
Maybe I don't know.
Popped out. Benny got the ball. I think because I was one of the two guys in the back, and then.
But anyways.
But thanks for reminding me.
It's hard to win finals against us.
Then we scored, right? Then we scored. Felipe scored a free kick.
No, he had the free kick at the end to try.
BWP.
That's what it was.
BWP scored a goal off like a rebound from I can't remember his name now. Like one DP that you guys
Gonzalo
Verón, yes.
And then yeah, we almost came back. We had some comebacks in that tournament that year.
I don't think anyone knew that guy was fast because he just never ran.
Gonzalo.
Yeah.
But then you look at his numbers after, and he'd have like 50 sprints, and you'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, when did you sprint?
The GPS trackers are suspect sometimes.
I don't know, man. There's ways to pump the data on that thing.
Yeah, you just start shaking it with your hand after the game. Anyways,
all right, moving on. I want to ask you a little bit national team, dude. I know it's been a weird time for the national team, and we played in the 2014 World Cup, and then obviously we missed the 2018 World Cup. And then we had a new coach, and then we had another new coach, an interim coach, and now we have Greg. And so, I know it's been kind of all over the place, and there's quarantine, so there's not that many games being played. And so, it's a weird time. And for fans, they're wondering as well, who's coming through and what's going on. And I know that, you definitely hope to be a big part of that. And I think you are right now. What does it feel like when you get called into the national team and do you feel like so here, I'll go back a little bit. This has been my biggest question with the national team ever since really we didn't qualify for the World Cup in at the end of 2017. So we've had a lot of young players come in, and we've given a lot of experience to those young players, you being one of them. But at the same time, there hasn't been that generation above you that has been there for a little while and kind of almost helped you guys along the way. And so I'm wondering, do you guys think that the experience that you guys are being given is more important or as important as having somebody there to kind of guide you a little bit? Because when I came into the national team, there were the Landons, the Beasleys, the Bocanegras, Gooch, Tim Howard, Steve Cherundolo. So there's tons of guys, Clint Dempsey, guys that were there, and you could kind of learn from. And as much as you want to impose your will, I'm sure you do with whatever team you go to, there's not that guys to kind of help you out a little bit and have you a kind of a goal to see yourself where you want to succeed. And so you played at Red Bull, New York Red Bull, you played at Red Bull Leipzig, and there's guys like that you guys can kind of learn from and kind of become, through time. And now with the national team, there's not really that. So is that difficult? Do you think that's something that's going to be a positive in the future, or is it a negative now? Or how do you see all that stuff?
Yeah. So first, I think from the experience standpoint, I think that now that I'm in Europe, I see how valuable it is, playing against Kingsley Coman, who'll play for France for however many years to come, who'll, have the opportunity to win World Cups. I see how important it is to play against him 3 times a year now. When I was in MLS, I didn't know how valuable it was to have that experience of playing against some of the top players around the world. So I think that now when you're throwing young kids into the national team and saying, okay, we're going to have a friendly against whoever we have friendlies against, Brazil, top teams, that you play them in those games, that's where you're really learning what it's like to be in that environment. I don't think that, players that have those experiences are going to tell you something before the game that's going to drastically change how you play. That sort of speak, that sort of leadership. I would say, though, on a day-to-day basis, it's really valuable to have guys to lean on, to talk to run you through the motions of what it's like to conduct yourself as a national team player. It's easy to go into camp with a bunch of your buddies and say, it's just like an under 20 camp. It's the same thing when we were in under 20s. But the truth is it's not. Things are changing. Now you have qualification for a World Cup on the line. You have bigger games on the line. And if you don't win these games, then the media will thrash you. And that's the reality of it. So I would say that for me as a young player, when I really started to get involved with the national team, I had some guys that were also involved with the national team, like Sasha, in New York, and Dax was getting called in and stuff like that. So I would talk about my experiences with them. But on a day-to-day basis, when I was first in there, I had guys like Bedoya and Guzan and a bunch of guys that I was able to learn from. But I always think it's really valuable to have them, whether it's necessarily, playing in games with them. I don't know how valuable that is. I haven't really done that yet. I think it's more important to, build the chemistry with the best group possible that you have, though.
Yeah. No, that's well said. I've always thought that, and I think you could probably relate, but I've always thought that having those guys that are a little bit older than you and have done it, and even maybe sometimes even better, you don't even like them that much. It like makes you want to get to that level, and it like pushes you to where, you see your goal and you know where you want to get to, as opposed to like when it's kind of easy and everybody's like on the same level playing field and all, like you said, they're all your buddies. It's harder to kind of reach for that unless you're really motivated and really focused, which I'm hoping that most of the guys that are being called up to the national team are, but I can see that like being one of the issues, and hopefully you guys can, surpass that.
But I also think there's a benefit somewhat to having, you and a lot of young guys kind of be the core of the team, almost like a Fab Five feel. I don't know if Tyler, you're pretty young. I don't know if you know what that is, but with Michigan, when they had 5 freshmen, it's kind of like, I think maybe you guys kind of like that pressure and like being the young guys on the team that maybe are naive or don't even know, what's expected, but you're just going to go in there and give it your best shot. Kind of like what you don't know, is better. And so I think of all people, you and some of the young guys that you play with probably have that mentality to succeed. So, I'm hoping that's kind of the route that it's going to be going.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, hey, when was your first selection for the national team? And like, how did you find out? Some of the fans are actually curious about that.
So we had Toronto in the playoffs. We lost that game. And then,
is that the fight game?
Yep.
Yeah.
In Toronto, Sasha Josie.
Yeah. Should we talk about that?
Who do you think would have won that fight, by the way?
I'm
kidding.
Tyler would have won. Tyler would have got in the middle of it.
That's a good question, though, because I don't know. I think we would have won, to be honest. Did we have Tim Parker that year? No, we didn't have Tim Parker.
We didn't.
Oh man, Tim's valuable.
I think Ike was referring to Josie and just Sasha at first.
Yeah, we know the answer to that. Then. But wait, what was the question? Oh, my first one. So yeah, it was after we lost that game, and Jesse said that I was going to the friendly in, it was Portugal. So I went to Portugal, and that was at the time when they didn't know what was really going to happen. So like half the group was young guys and half the group was some of the veteran guys that they wanted. So that was kind of the only camp that I had that was really valuable in a sense that it was a good group of core veteran guys and then a good group of young players. And it was a good experience. I mean, I played terrible, but it was awesome to put on the jersey. So it was.
It's always nice getting like at least you got some good news after you guys lost in the playoffs that you're getting your first cap. So at least that's bittersweet in some way. Yeah,
no, it was definitely bittersweet. It sucked to lose those playoffs because I mean we've made it so far so many years and we just can't win. But yeah, it was good to obviously get that first cap.
That's the Red Bull way.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Yeah, that is the Red Bull way. But I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Tell me a player. It doesn't have to be someone that no one's ever heard of, but a player that you see making a big push on the national team, like a big impact over the next year, or I guess over this next, I guess 3 years up until the next World Cup.
That we don't know.
It doesn't have to be someone we've never heard of, but just someone that you think that hasn't maybe made a massive impact yet that you think can kind of be a guy that can be depended on.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I haven't even played in the national team in a year, so
you can say yourself.
Definitely never say myself.
Even though you can say someone else and think yourself.
A player. I don't know if he'll be in the senior team quite yet, but the kid Richie Ledesma. He's at PSV right now. He hasn't made a first team appearance yet or anything like that, but he's a talented player, man. I've watched him play a lot. And he's something that I feel like the U.S. kind of always struggles to find is like that number 10 player that's actually just like a number 10. Like, it's not like Christian where you're like, oh, he's so good at winger, he could play the number 10. It's like he's just a number 10. That's probably his only position he could play. So I would be excited to play with him. I mean, I have to say Gio Reyna too, because I think that he'll be a huge piece, moving forward. And he'll definitely be in the qualifying cycle.
Yeah, I know all U.S. soccer fans were excited to watch him play yesterday, and then he got hurt in the warm-ups, man. Disappointing.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. So hopefully he gets some more opportunities there.
Yeah. Cool. All right, I got one more question before we hit up Ike for interrogation. You guys have any other stuff?
No, that's good.
All right, last question before we get into the nitty gritty. So you've been dealing with some injuries, over the last few months, and actually this pause was probably good for you to try and get back. But I know how frustrating injuries can be, and so what has that time been like? Do you feel like you've put it behind you? I know it's like kind of like a weird injury with it's like in the abs or whatever, right?
Yeah, it was more like my adductors, pubic symphysis, all that.
So like how have you been able to deal with it? And like, I know, it's tough, but knowing your mentality, I can only imagine you not being able to go out and compete in training and stuff like must have been disappointing.
Yeah, it was frustrating for me. I mean, when I first came here and I was able to handle the first, I don't know what I played maybe like 9-10 games. I was like, yeah, my body from a physical standpoint, I was like, you feel almost indestructible. Like you can just go out and play 100% every game. And then after, obviously, I had like a long layoff. I had a couple good first games. And then I was like, physically, I felt like I hit a brick wall for like the first time ever, where it was just like, my body just couldn't necessarily tolerate, playing a 3-game week or playing a game Saturday. And even after 2 days rest, training again right away, it was just like, my legs were so heavy, I couldn't run, and you start questioning yourself a little bit. And I think that's, was the first time for me where I was like, okay, I need to take things a little bit slower. In training some days, you can't just sprint around the fields every single day and expect, to perform on the weekend. So, now this break has definitely helped me from a fitness standpoint, where I feel like my body's starting to get, to 100% to where I can play a 3-game week again. I can play 100% on a Saturday and 100% on a Wednesday. So from a confidence perspective, I feel really good that, I'm finally moving away from the injuries and starting to think more about my football, which is really good. But I mean, that's a year after, all my injuries happening that I'm finally saying, now I'm ready to start playing the way that I'm capable of playing. Cause you first go out there after injuries and you're like, can I cut this way quickly? You're thinking about it a little bit. I mean, I couldn't hit a long ball for the first 6 months that I was back. Now I'm finally able to hit a long ball pain-free, and that's, a year later. So, yeah, it's exciting for me.
Good.
It's exciting for me because I'm like, yeah, I can just play the way I want to now, but it sucks because it took so long, obviously.
That's good. No, it's good to hear that you're back. And you not being able to hit a long ball, that sounds like Dax McCarty at January camp 2014, but that's a story for another day, dude. He was so injured, but still trying to play through it. He could only play like 5-yard passes. You can ask him about that one day.
He's fine then.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think that's all the questions we got for the interview. So, like I said, Ike's been on hiatus for 2 weeks building these questions up. So I do feel bad for you, but I know you're going to want to answer these honestly. So I wish you luck. You're going to be on the hot seat. It's going to get hot under there. Good luck. Ike, he's all yours, man.
All right. Tony Adams, welcome. That's what the announcer was calling you all game last weekend.
Yeah.
Last weekend, yesterday.
Well, right. By the time this is produced, yes. Right. Anyways, if you get 5 questions, if you answer them all, you get to ask us any question that we must answer truthfully. So with that, question number 1. You're the coach. Actually, you're the GM of this team.
Oh, gosh.
Start, bench, cut. 3 of your buddies, Josh Sargent, Pulisic, and Weston McKennie.
God damn it.
You can plead the 5th on one question.
Don't plead the 5th for this one. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, definitely not. Shit. I would say that's so hard, man. Why you gotta do me like that? I'm gonna start Christian because I need a good winger. I'm gonna bench Weston just because he's versatile, can play a lot of positions, and unfortunately, I gotta cut the ginger.
Hey, I'm on your side there. He trained with us in Kansas City one summer.
Yeah.
And this fool megged me twice in 5v2. I looked at him after the second time. I said, show me some respect. I said, respect me.
He's so good. Josh
is good.
So good.
He was good. And it was funny. It was a joke, but I was actually serious. I was like, you do that again. Like, we're going to have a problem.
We tried to sign him, didn't we, Ike?
Yeah, we tried to sign him as a homegrown because, he's 5 hours away from
never
Kansas
going
City.
to happen.
Yeah, well,
because he's from Florida, so you guys tried to sign him as a home.
St. Louis.
Hey, we signed Daniel. He's from Hungary, so
didn't even have a green card, but whatever, right?
Okay. By the way, I like Josh Sargent, dude. I think he's gonna be. Man. I think he's gonna be something.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, he's already scoring goals in Bundesliga, but I think he could be one of those guys for that question for the national team that really shows out and becomes like a big time striker over the next few years.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Well, unless Tony's the coach, because then he's going to cut him from every roster. So,
no.
All right. Question number 2. You get to rank these coaches from first to worst.
Okay.
All right. Your current coach, Julian Nagelsmann, if I even said that correctly. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Sounded pretty good, Ike.
Okay, good. Jesse Marsch and good old Greg Berhalter.
Why are you doing this to me?
You don't have to answer all the questions.
Yeah, but if this is the second question, they're only going to get worse. So, like,
not necessarily. Not necessarily.
He likes to mix them up a little bit.
I just like to make you feel hot.
This is what happens with Ike, right? He asks some tough questions, and he kind of he feels you out, right? Your thermometer, so to speak. If you can answer some tough ones, he might get harder. But if you maybe plead the fifth, he might give you a break.
Yeah, I mean,
that's pretty much the strategy. So if you plead the fifth now, which you should, for your own career's sake,
I would answer it if I were you.
Yeah, that's coming from a retired 34-year-old man.
Hey, Nagelsmann isn't gonna. He's not listening to the podcast. That's for one.
Yeah, but what's the German newspaper that might catch this?
Bild Zeitung.
The Bild Zeitung.
I still have their phone number. I can text them real quick about what Tyler Adams said.
Yeah, no, this is I'm definitely pleading the fifth. I'm thinking about it. I'm just like, do I really want to?
Your competitive nature wants you to do it. Bro.
I really want to right now. You have no idea. Like, it's burning inside of me to let everybody know what I really think, but I'm not.
You want to have a career after this. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Still got some years to play. Fair enough.
All right. I finally got him, boys. Finally got it.
Did it.
All right. Question number 3. We're going to make this a little bit funner. 2 of these 5 center backs you have played with. So in a big game, you've played with these 5 center backs. You get to choose 2 of them to play with in a big game between Tim Parker, Eric Palmer-Brown, myself, Walker Zimmerman, and Aaron Long. Who are you choosing and why?
Choosing Aaron and oh man, Aaron and you said Walker Zimmerman, you, Tim, and Eric Palmer-Brown.
Yeah.
Eric Palmer-Brown. I know that's not what you don't want to hear, so I'm definitely saying it.
I like that answer, dude. Yeah. He didn't say you, didn't suck up to you, didn't say Tim Parker, which I would have hated Tim Parker and Aaron Long together, and then Walker or whatever, but I like EPB.
I thought you were going to roll EPB under the bus for sure. So you actually came up with a different direction.
I ride with EPB. We got good chemistry on the field. So
okay, fair enough.
Hey, I want to say one thing. Ike, you should be number 1 on that list, though, bro. He said Aaron Long in a split second, dude.
Aaron Long's his OG though. That's the Red Bull 2. They came up together.
But Sal knows, if you were part of that Red Bull 2 team, you know how close we were.
Yeah. You don't backstab each other.
Aaron was a substitute center back then. I gotta go with Aaron, man.
I love it. The Red Bull code. All right, this is a fan question. This is actually pretty funny too. And I have an idea who you're going to choose. But if you had to punch one of these three hosts, who would it be and why?
Wait, punch one of you guys?
Yes. Who and why?
I didn't see that question. Did you just make that up?
No, it was an IG story.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
A fan asked that?
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Hey, before he answers that, when we played Open Cup, that final, I remember there was one time he went down the line on me and he tried to he crossed the ball, and on his follow through, he punched me. Would you punch me or kick me in the face?
Oh,
dude?
I kicked you, I think.
Yeah, I think like the follow, he swung all the way up and like it hit me right in the face. You remember that?
Oh no, it'd definitely be you then. It'd definitely be you then because we were talking so much shit after that. Like, I was like, there's no way I kicked you. I was like, how is it possible that I kicked you? And you were like,
nah.
You kept coming after me. You're like,
I was talking shit. No chance.
Benny doesn't remember.
chance.
Benny doesn't
100%
remember
chance.
anything, bro.
Yeah.
No.
I remember you even came up to me and you like asked me like if I'm all right, and I was like, yeah, but give me a second, like I'm dizzy or something.
No,
Stop, dude.
No, I did not. Trust me. I know for sure. I don't think I asked if you're all right. Like I don't.
Yeah, you
He
did.
doesn't do that, bro.
I was
He
actually
doesn't do that.
surprised. Yes, go look at the tape, dude. I'm telling you, I watched the game the other day. I was like actually surprised. I'm like, oh, Tyler's not a dick, dude. He's like making sure I'm all right.
The most ludicrous part of this is you saying you don't talk shit, Benny. You absolutely run your
To the
mouth.
ref,
I definitely
maybe.
don't believe that. I don't believe that. If you're part of that SKC team, you definitely did.
Nah, dude, I'm quiet on the field.
Oh, stop. All right. We're not
Only to
gonna-
the ref. I yell at the ref a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. All
A
right.
little
Question
bit,
number.
yeah. Just a little.
Question number 5.
Wait, we didn't answer. Oh, was the answer me? You would
Yeah, it
punch
was-
me?
Yeah. Yeah.
He would have finished you off, karate kick, and then a
To play
punch
with
to the
Sal
face.
for a year. You wouldn't punch him right in the nose?
Hey, I was good
Nah.
to Tyler.
All right. Question number 5. What was the worst MLS stadium to play in, and what is the equivalent of that in Germany, where like all the guys are like, "Damn it, we have to go to whatever."
I mean,
Augsburg or-
Yankee Stadium, of course. I mean.
Oh, really? Yeah. I mean, it's a joke, but I just
What
would
would
have
be
thought.
worse than that?
Well, our past guests and hosts, we've all crushed kind of like New England and Houston in the summer and all
I'll
that.
take playing on turf on a full field any day over playing on NYCFC. That's just like you could just tear an ACL any day in that spot. Like where it's like,
Yeah,
like,
that's
it's just
fair.
like how is that even allowed? Like it doesn't even make sense.
Tyler hates taking 10 steps and being on the other sideline already.
Yeah, man, it's just the worst. But in Germany, what's the equivalent to that? To be fair, there's some really good stadiums here.
Yeah, but it could just be like one of those like it's kind of like where you go to like Houston or Dallas in the summer. You're like, yep, that's an L. Like, is there like something in Germany that's like that's like? You know,
I mean, you don't play in the summer here, so it's pretty easy.
yeah, I know, but like that's what enlightened us.
Maybe a cup game against like some lower division teams too.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Paderborn wasn't great. It's so small. Hanover, when we played Hanover last year, because it's just so big.
Ave de Arena?
They just get no fans, so it's like
Really?
playing in a
They used to
stadium.
sell out when I was there, 40K every
They
game.
came to see Sal every weekend.
Yeah, they came to see me in the tribuna up in the stands.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't really have a stadium that I like hate, but granted, I haven't been to them all yet. So
Right. Yeah, I just didn't know if there was one that's like universally disliked amongst all the Germans
yeah,
in
there probably
the
is. I don't know.
Bundesliga.
With your hate for NYCFC in the stadium, do you have the same hate as Sal does for Anton Tinnerholm?
Yeah, everyone does.
Wait, that might be the first time his name has come up in season 2, by the way.
Yeah. We used to talk about this dude. Like Sal would bring him up every episode, and people would be like, "Yeah, why do you hate him?"
And
And
you know
like,
what's
"He's just
funny
got
is
this
I don't
face."
even think I played against this guy. That's what's even funnier. I just remember watching. Yeah.
I never played against someone that talks so much trash. Like I'm like, dude, this NYCFC is full of DPs, and you're like the only guy here that should not be on this team. Like,
Although he was really, he's pretty good. He's pretty good right back. No, he's pretty good.
please don't rate him like that.
Listen, I know that you dislike him, but he's an actual good player.
All right, he's
He hasn't run his mouth to me, so we're all. I got nothing against the man.
yeah, he's all right.
All right, dude. Was that question 5?
Yeah, it was 5. He's off. He's off the
All
hot
right,
seat.
Tyler. That was easy. You want to go back and answer the question before or no?
No. That was so easy. I thought there was gonna be some harder questions.
No, Tyler. Look, I'm trying to keep your career trending upwards. I'm not going to be the reason why it goes downhill. I don't want that on my conscience.
I want to know what EPB told you though. Like, what was this guy trying to give you?
Nothing. We got no stories. I wanted to go silhouette this.
We didn't get too many PIs for this story.
Yeah, I could have.
Other than the Felipe headlock wrestling move, that's the only one that we got.
What's funny is I remember after that, Tyler, I remember being in the bathroom, like, I don't know, in the mirror or something, and you were, wiping your hands with paper towels. And I remember Felipe just walking behind you because he was pretty pissed off at that it happened in front of everybody. And he just like punched you in the backs as hard as he could. And you're just like, what is wrong with you? You didn't fight back. You didn't do anything. You're just like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, there's no point retaliating there.
No. He was
talk like that about my boy, dude. He I'm like the only guy he likes in the league.
Yeah, he does. Anyways, it's true.
You're off the hot seat. I know I made you sweat, and that's all that I care about. So
yeah, fair enough.
You are done.
All right, Tyler. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the show, dude. Good luck with the rest of Bundesliga. I think you guys got 8 games left. Make me look good. Try and catch up to Bayern. It might be tough, but I don't know if they're gonna even drop 6 points, but or 7 points now, right?
7.
But all right. Well, good luck. Thanks for coming on. Stay safe out there, and we'll be watching you.
Yeah, Ty.
Thank you.
Nice seeing you, buddy. Take care. Good luck.
All right, thanks a lot, Tyler Adams, for coming on the show. I know he's got to be busy right now dealing with, the crazy times that we're in, but he's still playing. And so I appreciate him making some time to talk about it. And that was a good episode, man. I enjoyed some of his answers, and he's a straight shooter, albeit a young kid. He tells it how it is.
Yeah, I hope our, listeners kind of got a glimpse into his personality, and hopefully they can, feel happy about, what the national team's going to have, hopefully for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I got a little glimpse of his personality. Like, I mean, I knew what he was like from conversations that I've had and like seeing him on the field and playing against him, but it's interesting to like hear it firsthand. So that was cool. And thanks, Lee and Lance, 2 guys on our Patreon system that were able to help us out with some of the questions. And, we look forward to more questions from those guys. Any of our Patreons that have good questions, we'll try and throw on there. So, again, that's what our show was for today. We appreciate it. And if you enjoy what you're listening to, join our Patreon. We got extra content there. We get to, find out a little bit more of what you want to hear and what questions you want to get answered. And so it's been a cool process for us. And I hope it's, being a good process for you guys out there as well. And I think that's all we got. So thanks for showing up, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, guys.